All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to our fortnightly Inclusion and Wellbeing Forum. Today, we have an amazing speaker. Susie, would you like to introduce our speaker today?
Yeah. Okay. So Ruby is someone that I've known over the past few years. I can't even count. And she's very approachable, very kind, always helpful. You will never see her stressed. She has a very holistic approach, and she really loves what she does. So I thought of why not inviting her to a little bit refresh what we do as counselors, that so that she can maybe give us some advice of sometimes ways that we forget of taking in account certain things to what we do. So thank you very much, Ruby, for being here today.
Thank you, Ruby.
Ladies.
And just a note before we begin, please do mute your mics when you enter so that we can have a clear sound from our speaker. If you have a question, write it in the chat box, and both Susie and I will monitor the chat, and we can address any questions at the end of the session. Please do listen to the presentation first, and then we'll have our chat at the end. We'll keep it focused on students, so please don't discuss any individual cases as we speak. Industry experts are, as always, very welcome, but we are not promoting any material. It's all free, voluntary. We have no affiliations in the forum. We will record the session and we will share it in our email, the email group tomorrow, probably. And please remember that we as presenters are in the same role as you. Nobody is extremely expert in any particular area. We're simply here to share and to support each other. If you have something that's really interesting and pertinent to the talk, please do share during and share your experience or something that's really worked well, or equally something that maybe hasn't worked well, so that we can talk about it and address it together. Okay, Rubina.
Thank you for having me around. So today I would like, we are all here who are practicing beautifully and seeing great results with our students, with our staff. We have been working for so many number of years, but I feel that, you know, when I have, since I got qualified in this field, I have never stopped learning and trying to understand new ways to deal with people. I think the more approaches that we have seen in the past, we need to see that how we can connect it with science. So I have always had this fascination to connect your knowledge with science and to be able to present it to them, so that the depth in which you're presenting a particular format or a particular module, you know, it goes in deeper so that the questions are answered. So however, today I have brought a new concept that, you know, it is one of the neuroscientists have written a book, you know, which is on neuroplasticity, and, you know, how, you know, changing your thoughts can change the structure of your brain, and there, so on and so forth, you know, addressing specifically to stress related things, anxiety related issues with students and people that we deal with. So here, you know, without going into the topic that we initially knew, the holistic view of counseling, I think I will first give you one of the tools that is, you know, to manage your mind. These are mind management tools that the neuroscientist has put together. So I just want to share this because I have been using it with my students effectively, because this particular book that got launched just about a month ago, you know, I have been following up the podcast for this and have been using these techniques with my students. We all are very pretty much aware of mindfulness. We look at mindfulness as one of a very helpful tool that we keep using, and we see great results. But however, every time we meet a student, we see we are using a particular technique, but we're not tying it up together. So I feel the kind of technique that I'm going to give you today, it is in an order. So, you know, for us, when we're dealing with a student, or dealing, even if you're using it with an adult in your school, if you want, you know, who is battling depression, anxiety, or any sort of issues, you know, you have a flow in which you can go and you can see results. So that is called neurocycle. It is nothing but a mind management tool. Okay, next slide, please. Next. So right now, when we're talking about neurocycle, you know, what we need to first understand, what are we looking at? We are understanding the mind and fostering self-awareness. Now, when we meet a lot of our students or people who are fighting, battling mental health concerns, the very common phrase that you get to hear from them is, what are you feeling? What were you thinking? What is going on in your mind? And they're sometimes the most common phrase that they'll tell you is, I don't know. And what we are struggling here is we're trying to help them and deal with a certain crisis here, but we are not able to very clearly see that. So, as neuroscientists, and the whole concept that we're talking about here is we're bringing, no matter how uncomfortable the matter is, we are trying to bring it into our conscious awareness that we begin to deal with. Next slide, please, Catherine. Next. Yeah. So here I will be discussing 5 steps that we can take to be able to effectively round it off in terms of, going with our student or with the person or with the patient that you're going through, carrying out a few steps that we are going to touch upon in different phases to be able to bring that whole concept rounded off well. Now we are trying to tell the child or tell the client that we're dealing with that depression is not you and you are not depression. So we are trying, at the end of this, we are trying to tell them that depression and if I'm going to say, sorry, Susie, but I'm going to use your name, depression and Susie are not same. So we are trying to show them through all these exercises that we are going to do with them that eventually they're able to separate themselves from the symptoms that they're going through. Because that is one of the biggest challenges. They are in a confused state of mind because they do not have clarity in terms of seeing into what is it doing. Yes, it is a mechanism that is not switching off. Now you're looking at anxiety. Anxiety is a response that your body is giving out of a threat that you're facing. But that has to go off, but that's not going off. So what are we looking at? We're looking at the thought process behind it that is not allowing it to shut down. Again, very clearly going back to the mechanics of your body. You're looking at self-awareness. Again, we're giving them a lot of information. So the first step, what we're looking at is that we can meditate. We can use steps like, meditation. We can look at breath work. We have starfish breathing. So we bring them into a state wherein they are able to reflect inward. That is the most challenging thing. We're looking at deep breaths. There is science behind it. Meditation, there is science behind it. When a couple of talks that we have attended, and all of us would know, we use apps like Mindspace and Headspace, and all of these apps. What are they doing? They're actually conditioning us to be able to come to a place wherein we are able to look within. So I think in that process, a lot of information is gathered about your problem. So your first step is to gather information. Then we're looking at asking ourselves questions. What am I thinking? What is it that I'm thinking? If you're looking at somebody bolting out of the classroom because they're having an anxiety issue, what were they thinking? That is more important for them to be able to come back to the problem to investigate. So they become the little investigators with you, and you're facilitating them. Very clearly, you're telling them, okay, what are we going to look at? What should we look at? Why did this happen? So you're rounding it off in terms of gathering information